Nah, my futon, hold it up and smoke it. Transgression, a progression of a war we ain't asked for. Transgression, a progression of a war we ain't asked for.
It's madness, yo. All the things that we could talk about.
Call it.
But let's talk about these urban circumstances real quick.
And basically, it's
we got this.
So,
revolution.
Winner's frosty hand. Muhammad is the fame's name, forever stand.
Standing on royal fusing of justice for the few, ridiculed by the pale terrorists, bent on genocidal obsession, rooted in fear of neglection and abandonment, fueled by nightmares of ancestors' jealous.
because at the end of the day, I still want to be able to I don't dislike George Washington.
The kind of friends I think all friends should be like my friends. My friends are the kind of friends I think everyone needs. My friends see the things at times I don't see. My friends hate the police.
What has changed?
Are deemed the criminals, and the blacks are deemed the criminals.
Shut up and help.
Reflection ain't nothing but the inner child trying to see you. You gonna look? You gonna pick up that book?
Lord, keep me far from the faith. Guide me through night and day. Teach me your ways. Show me the righteous way to sway. Lord, can you teach me, please? Show me the way, I'd say. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome to another episode of The Urban Conservative. Today, going to do the year in review. 2023 has been a turbulent year. There's been some ups, there's been some downs, there's been some happy moments, there's been some sad moments, there's been some brutal moments, and I want to go into the new year, but just reminding everybody what 2023 was about and what are we going to look forward going into 2024, you know what I'm saying? We have a presidential election, U.S. congressmen, senators, 2024 is going to be a big year. And I want it to be a big year for Black people, and that's what next year I am going to be mainly focused on is Black history. Things that they're not telling us in school, and I'm going to start with the transatlantic slave, industry. And I want to go through that history because I think there's a lot of things that Black people are missing when it comes to our history. I learned a lot in the last couple of days. I shouldn't even say the last couple of days, but since last Christmas Day, I found out about my great uncle Willie Francis, and that really made me want to go further into history, and I want to thank Robert. Sent me some great stuff about slavery, and I really dug into it, and I seen that a lot of the slave ships, the slave merchants were Jews, and there was countries, because America didn't even get that many slaves. It was more South America, Brazil. Because we have to remember that there was over anywhere between 12.5 million to 18 million Africans that were sold, killed, all in the name of slavery. And what people don't realize, it was about free labor. The sugar cane industry was very big back then. So that's what literally 2024 is going to be. For me, is about educating and re-educating, because we need to deprogram and reprogram our people so that we can fully understand where we come from. Because once you know where you come from, there's more pride in it. You know what I'm saying? And I think people need to believe that, not even believe, but think, you know what I'm saying, and see evidence and factual based that blacks were here first as master and not as slave, because that's a big one. And also what I want to highlight in 2024 is the Compensation Act, because I feel like that is the best road for African, well, let me take that foundational black Americans to get reparations, is to show America why. Because at the end of the day, yes, you freed us, but we have not seen equality in America ever, because we've always been the underdog. We've always been second-class citizens. And I'm going to show people through history and through legislation, the black codes, all of that, of leading up to where we are today and why. Because there's numerous reasons. First is politics, religion, schools, public safety. I'm going to show you guys of how and why we are in the mess that we're in. And if we would have stuck behind leaders like Marcus Garvey, who had the Pan-Africanism movement, you know what I'm saying, the Black Power, then we had the Black Panthers, we had Black Wall Street, we had so many other things, and then yet we had 1965 when the Civil Rights Act. So where have we gone wrong in history? Because I believe if we would have went with people and followed leaders that were our government hated, like Marcus Garvey, Malcolm X, the Black Panthers, you know, I think we would be further as Black people than where we are. And I know a lot of people are probably going to disagree with that statement, but I think history shows itself in why they got rid of Fred Hampton, why they got rid of the Black Panthers, why they did the 1985 move bombing, why they see Black people as domestic terrorists, but yet we can't call white groups, we can't call Republicans, QAnon, MAGA, whatever you want to call them. We can't call them the same thing that we can call Black people. So that's really what I want to get into next year, is to educate people. So I got a video that I'm going to show, basically the year in review, and I'm going to talk about it because there are some things that are missing out of this little video. But when this video is over, I'm going to talk about, you know, Kim Potter. I'm going to talk about the Tyree Nichols. I'm going to talk about Eric Holmes. I'm going to talk about, you know, things that happened this year and why we haven't seen no change, because we should see change by now. So let me be quiet. I'm going to add this to the stage. And here we go.
It's therefore with great hope that I declare COVID-19 over.
Well, the number of COVID deaths hitting a record low.
I just feel like I'm getting my life back.
We may have seen the busiest travel day since before COVID.
Pandemic.
Free vaccines will mostly be paid for by insurance, and expanded Medicare and SNAP food benefits are now being scaled back.
What the Fed's been doing is actually making progress in its fight against inflation.
The economy is doing pretty good. Of course, when you look at
history, 2 major Hollywood unions have walked off the job.
Largest bank collapse in U.S. history.
No.
Was Controlled Threads is trying to take advantage of Musk's controversial changes.
Blue Bird is undergoing a the company trend topic in tech. We have to pump the brakes here because if we're not careful, AI will soon evolve beyond our control.
Artificial intelligence are already reshaping the work world.
Bordeaux and taking in Earth.
It is not too late. We can, you can prevent planetary crash and burn.
Reported tornadoes touching down across 5 states.
Smoke from the Canadian wildfires brings unhealthy air and hazy skies.
July is set to be the Earth's hottest month in recorded.
And now this happened.
Fiery train derailment unleashed a cloud of toxic chemical.
Massive home explosion.
The authorities are tracking a giant Chinese spy balloon that has been hovering over the northern U.S.
The surge of migrants crossing the southern border, an overwhelming city.
His office and charged in the Gilgo Beach killings.
His attorney entering a not guilty plea on his behalf.
The 5 former murder.
All feel not guilty.
The Gun Violence Archive has now tracked 632 mass shootings so far this year. Gunmen opening fire after celebrations at a Lunar New Year's festival in Henry Park.
And now we are once again talking about victims of another shooting, this time here.
He is saying the shooter had 8 weapons on him.
A self-proclaimed white supremacist gunned down 2 men and 1 woman, all African Americans.
Mass shooting tragedy unfolding in Maine's second largest city.
Or Ukraine
And Russian President Vladimir Putin says there will be no peace in Ukraine until Russia reaches its goals.
The urgent rescue operation is playing out in western Afghanistan after a powerful earthquake. The earthquake devastating with a magnitude of 5.6, hitting the Himalayan nation.
Search and rescue operation underway for a vessel used to take tours of the Titanic wreckage that has gone missing.
For the first time since the Cold War, an American journalist has been detained in Russia.
Israel has formally declared war after that unprecedented multi-pronged terror attack.
Look at the road is testament to the ferocity of what happened here.
And Israel today launching devastating new airstrikes on southern Gaza.
Protesters demanding a ceasefire in Gaza.
And when this crisis is over, there has to be a vision of what comes next.
Weigh on the minds of voters.
That's why I'm running for re-election.
I am running for
President
President of the United States.
Guys, thank you. Thank you.
And Donald Trump's a lot different guy.
First former president in U.S. history to face criminal charges.
The 4th indictment for a former president. But this one was different. The mugshot.
And Trump has denied all wrongdoing.
House Speaker now in place, Mike Johnson of Louisiana.
George Santos is now the 6th lawmaker to ever be expelled from the House of Representatives.
Special counsel has in months.
A major leak of U.S. intelligence documents.
Bipartisan deal on the debt ceiling. President Biden signing it today.
After a Supreme Court ruling, abortion pill mifepristone will remain on the market.
Supreme Court ruling striking down affirmative action in college admissions.
The justice is ruling that a Christian web designer who opposes same-sex marriage can refuse to create a wedding website for same-sex couples.
The Supreme Court blocking the president's sweeping plan.
Happy to announce there will be no government shutdown.
Charles III crowned king in a historic ceremony
In his name.
Arrest. We didn't know if he would survive, and already he is back at home recovery.
A middle school student from Michigan is being hailed a hero for helping to stop his school bus full of students after the driver suffered a medical emergency.
A Pennsylvania pizza delivery man hailed a hero for stepping up to help police stop a suspected car thief.
Many in Lahaina are still trying to heal, but from around the world, people are reaching out to
Robb Elementary. 21 butterflies released in the memory of the lives lost that day.
Matthew Perry was welcomed into the homes and the hearts of generations of TV viewers.
Tina Turner was a trailblazer in so many regards.
Her art was very pure, was very uncompromised.
Playing Detective John Shaft was Roundtree's first film, but he went on to appear in more than 100 movies and TV shows.
It is time to see the world, time to kiss a girl, time to cross that wide meridian.
I've always wanted to be one of a kind somehow, and it happened.
You have to do many things and enjoy quality of life, and most of all, put something back into the society.
It was a signal that it was all right, that women could be in such positions, that they could do well in such positions.
He leaves a storied political history, shaping foreign policy.
That we're inspired by.
Every time I have ever been away from you, I have been thrilled when I returned to discover just how wonderful you are. Way I try to convince myself that you really are not could not be as sweet and beautiful as I remember all over again. Does that seem strange to you? It doesn't to me. Goodbye, darling. Until tomorrow, Jimmy.
So that was the year in review, and a lot of things happened, that really for in the future that I think that we're really not ready to, to deal with. I see that, the Palestine, Israel, Gaza, issue came up, and that I see as, to me, I think that's really gonna cement our 2024 presidential election, for the simple fact that we're literally funding a genocide. And I know people aren't going to agree with that, with that statement, and I see a lot of, the protests are gearing back up. I've seen just this week that, in LA and New York, that the airports have been shut down for a little while because of protest. I see legislators gearing up for 2024 legislative session with, making up new rules and laws to really silence people. And I think people really need to pay attention to that, because, you see one side that is literally wants to condemn people for speaking up for their rights, you know what I'm saying? And they see that as a crime, but yet we don't see real crime as an issue. And not when it comes to our police departments, because how is murder and going down, but at the hands of the police it's going up? When police departments are shrinking, how do we have more police violence with less officers? So that should show you something there, right there, is that when these officers are overworked, they're overtired, what's happening? They're taking it out, because they used to just take it out at home. You know what I'm saying? They beat on their wives, get drunk, go to maybe a Vikings game, go to the bar and get into it with the police. Oh, wow. That's crazy. If you're out in Vegas, please be safe. I just got a breaking news that there is numerous shots being fired from an MGM tower balcony. Currently, a substantial law enforcement presence surrounds the MGM signature towers in a response of multiple gunshots potentially fired from a balcony within the MGM towers. Witnesses claim to have heard about 30 to 40 shots. SWAT team and other agencies have arrived on the scene, leading the current lockdown of MGM towers. Evacuations are underway for individuals inside the building. As witnesses continue to report ongoing gunfire, officers are actively investigating the shooting, and as of now, there are no reported injuries. Authorities advise the public to avoid the area as the situation is still developing. I knew today was going to be a crazy day, and this is probably not the only active scene that we'll see today, because it's not even in some areas, it's not even noon yet, or it's about to be noon in New York. Because last night there was a swatting call. Well, I shouldn't even say swatting, but in Torrance, California, you had a heavy police presence because there was going to be a flash mob protest. And I can already tell that police are geared up because it's gonna be crazy. I know how Chicago, people gonna be shooting their guns up in the air. Same thing in Minneapolis, Philly, LA, South Central. You're gonna see a lot of probably gun violence today. So if you're gonna go out tonight and you're going to go partake in New Year's Eve, please be safe about it. Please watch have situational awareness. And if people don't know what situational awareness is, it means making sure of your surroundings at all times. You know what I'm saying? And I think a lot of people don't understand that is that they treat everywhere they go as the same. We can't do that anymore. This isn't the 1990s. This isn't, the times when we were younger and you can sit here and trust people. That's all we see as stories every day in the news, and I'm just getting back to, the year in review. And then I was talking about Vegas, the casinos out there were hacked. They couldn't even use their systems out there for a while, and I don't think people fully understand what kind of things that we should be concerned about, because they can't attack our grid systems, our internet, our electricity. And I know people seem leave the world behind. What happens are people fully prepared for that type of attack? Are people, because we thought COVID was bad. What are we going to do if there's a cyber attack and we can't use computers, we can't use internet, we can't use our phones, we have no way to communicate, right? We can't just pick up the phone and call 911, or we can't pick up the phone and make sure that our parents are okay, or our children. So are people fully prepared for that? Because I see people doing, and this is the one thing I want people to look at too, right? Is look at the permits, the building and that's being done in your areas, right? Because I see in Hawaii, California, people are building bunkers. And rich people, what are you building bunkers for? So that should already tell you something, that these people obviously have information that we don't have. That should really scare people, right? We have migrants coming in, and now you see the New York, Chicago, the Philadelphia, some of the biggest cities sounding the alarm. Mayor Adams is now has his police department pulling over buses that come into New York, and they're searching for migrants. The same thing's going on in Texas, Arizona, Minneapolis. We see it all the time. We've seen it in California big time, and they're saying that damn near 1 million people, 1 million migrants have came through, and just on 250 some thousand just this month alone. Just this month alone, where we can't even take care of our own. Because first of all, murders might be down, but you know what's up? Overdoses, suicide. So that takes, come on now, make it make sense to me. Because ODs are up like crazy. Like crazy. This has been a year of OD deaths. I really thought our state legislators, our Congress people would really get it together and get a handle on the overdoses. But I see they could have really cared less, because at the legislative session, they didn't write any new bills that had to do with fentanyl, especially illicit fentanyl. What they chose to do is gender affirming care, tampons in boys' bathrooms, increasing police department budgets, feeding kids at school, giving Medicare to people that aren't born in America, where people who are actually born here, been there their whole lives, can't even get medical insurance. And it's insane. Because what do we really care about? Do we care about thy neighbor? Because we celebrate these 7 deadly sins more than we celebrate the man upstairs. I'm going to say that again. We celebrate the 7 deadly sins more than we celebrate the man upstairs. So I want people to really, think about that and think about the year that we've had, because we've seen the missing kids in Cleveland, Ohio, all the missing kids. But yet they pass a Crown Act, not a bill that's going to make human trafficking, missing kids a priority, because we see it every day. We see it out in South Dakota with the Native Americans. We see it in Louisiana. We see it in the West Coast. We see it in the East Coast. We see it with the casinos, with the resorts, and yet we still don't do anything about it. We just look the other way, because at the end of the day, if it's not happening in our household, why should we care? I want people to change that in 2024. I want people to actually care about thy neighbor, right? I don't want people to say, well, I gave a donation to a nonprofit, so I did my part. It's more than just giving a donation, because do you care where that donation goes? What it's being used for? Because a lot of people don't, and I know our state legislators don't, because at the end of the day, they've made it easier to be a nonprofit. They've made it easier to scam, and they've made it easier to be fraudulent, especially in Minnesota, because I've seen over $1 billion be fraudulently wasted since COVID. And then people wonder why crime is up, right? You see the carjackings, you see the property crime, the stealing. Shit, I just seen something yesterday that in St. Paul, where a man, I'll even go with I don't know if people seen the story out Towsley Ford. They literally went into this business on Christmas Day and did $500,000 in damages, and the man only had a $500 bond. A $500 bond. Think about that. Think about that. Are we really tough on crime? Because you can literally kill somebody and get 2 years and be out, and then get a job back working for the same police department you killed a young man, Kim Potter. See, people don't want to have these conversations. They don't want to have these talks. And I will never understand why. Because it's, even with racism, Why don't white people want to talk about racism? Because I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about this system. I'm talking about the system that is built to keep black people down, right? But people don't want to have them conversations. Nobody wants to have an open dialect about the things that are going wrong in our communities, right? Because as long as people getting their money, they could care less, right? As long as they getting that check every month, as long as they getting that grant money, they don't care. How we got all these churches over north and all these nonprofits, and we can't come together and stop shit. Come on, man. That's because they want this chaos. They want this mayhem. And I want people to think about that as you're reflecting on this year, because there's only 13 hours if you're in the central time zone. You only have 13 hours left of this year until 2024 is here. And I know people are going to be making their New Year's resolutions. I want people to reflect on that. Reflect on what you've done this year and what you can do better next year, right? Because I want to see people calling out the wrongs being done in our communities, right? I want people to start holding our systems accountable, because we shouldn't see the things that we're seeing, right? I shouldn't be seeing stories of it's been 90 days and a drunk woman killed 2 kids and still hasn't been arrested. And yet her twin sister said she was her. And yet no one is arrested, right? So is it, if you white, you right? Because that's how I literally see our system being played out in front of us, right? The system is built to protect himself. And yet people still don't want to talk about it. We don't want to talk about the alphabet boys and all the mayhem they have caused in our communities. And I'm talking to the rural people too, because you're going to start feeling this. You're going to start feeling the effects of the migrants coming in to America, because it's crazy what people, all they're doing is replacing certain people, right? Because I'll tell you right now, you go to your nearest fast food restaurant and see who the employees are, right? You just seen out in California, they just fired all of their delivery drivers. All their delivery drivers. Over what? Capitalism, $20 an hour, right? Yeah, they are gonna, because yeah, they do want urbanization. And what they don't understand is that urbanization isn't always a great thing, because all they're doing is gentrifying a community that is already poor. I look at Rochester and the DMC and what Mayo Clinic is doing, right? But as long as people get their money, they're not going to say nothing. And that's the things that I see. I see all of these community organizations, but they're more gatekeeping than anything. Right. 15-minute cities. Definitely want RoboCops. You see California, you see Washington, New York, you see all of these, definitely 2040 plans, and people don't even understand that. They don't even understand that. You know, I just seen a story this morning come out on Star Tribune, and how the Charter Commission in Minneapolis is trying to take away city councils, the little power that they do have. And what people don't realize is that your commissions down there are unelected seats, right? There's people that get placed there. And that's what's crazy to me. And people still aren't calling it out, that you see Mayor Frey or Andrea Jenkins putting people, or Vita, putting people in position so that they're able to do the things that they want Frey to do. That's all it is. It's all about, you know, what's crazy is, and again, I said it the other night on Reverend Tim Christopher show, is we literally have representatives that want to be celebrities. They want to be celebrities. And I will never understand that, because why do you go out for an elected position to be a celebrity, right? Why? It's not a popularity contest, but I'm starting to see that's what really our elections are about, our popularity contest. It's not about the person's policies. It's not about if they're right or wrong for our community, right? It's about who they have behind them and who they're divvying out the money to. It's not about who's the best person for our community, because if that was the case, Vital definitely wouldn't have won in Fourth War. She definitely wouldn't have won. You know, and I'm gonna talk about the year in review. You know, the end of the year was a great year. Was a great year. Marvin Haynes was exonerated. You know, that was 19 years that Minneapolis, that Minnesota took away from a family, took away from a young man. And you can't get that back. No amount of money is going to be able to give 19 years back. And I think about Philip Vance as we're going into this new year, and thinking about how a wrongfully convicted man is sitting behind bars and who should be free and at home with his family. I think about Lincoln Caldwell, another wrongfully convicted young man. I think about Robert Davis in Akron, Ohio. You know, because I wish there was people that were literally stand up to the system and did the right thing, because in history, I see more white people actually trying to educate on how to beat the system than our own black people do. And we have all these educated, we got Ben Crump, we got Al Sharpton, we got the NAACP, we got the ACLU, we got the urban leagues, we got the black churches. So why can't we feel it in our communities? Why can't we see it on paper? Why can't we see it in our court systems? Why? Why can't we see that? That's what I want to know, right? Because it ain't about a Democrat or a Republican. It's not about if you're a liberal or a conservative. It's about, do you care about your community? Do you care more about your community, or do you care more about that dollar in your pocket? Because I see more people caring about the dollars in their pockets than the dollars in their community. I know, and that's crazy. And that's one thing that I'm going to get into, you know, next year too, is talking about this legislation, because I don't feel legislation is going to get us anywhere when we already have a constitution that protects us, that gives us rights that we don't understand it maybe, but there's people out there willing to educate for us to understand our rights. But we have to use these rights, because we do have rights, pro se. We don't need a Ben Crump to go after the system, right? We don't need a Ben Crump or a Al Sharpton to come in here to do something that we can do on our own, right? Because if we would have did that shit on our own, I can tell you right now, 38th in Chicago wouldn't be the way that it is. Missouri wouldn't be the way that it is, right? None of that. I want people to think about that, because how many consent decrees have we seen since 2013, right? How many have we seen, and what does it change? Because we keep on saying names. We keep on saying names. We keep on saying names. So what does the alphabet boys coming into doing anything when at the end of the day, they're already in our communities? Jump Out Boys, 21 Days of Peace. People need to think about that. Violence makes money. You honestly believe that if these people wanted to get rid of if they really wanted to prevent violence, they really, really cared about our communities. You don't think that they got the power to get rid of this shit? Oh yeah, we're definitely going to expose them 2024. And we're going to educate people to do it. We're going to teach people because I want to work with people. I'm going to tell you right now that there's so much things that, and I need to get back on my square because there's a lot of people that we need a coalition everywhere. We need people that are educated and that will teach people to fight the system because we can fight fire with fire. And what I mean by fighting fire with fire, because people think that, oh, they just want to pick up guns and start shooting people. No, that's not. No, I want to beat you upstairs. I want to fight fire upstairs because at the end of the day, most of y'all are indoctrinated and can't think outside the box and can't think for yourselves. So at the end of the day, that's why I see in these Twitter spaces or these TikTok spaces, I see people with the same arguments. Nobody thinks outside the box. It's all the same shit. It's all the same shit. Right. And thank you, Robert, because you know what's crazy is I will say this, Robert Johnson be saving a nigga ass, man. Be saving a nigga ass because I have a public defender and it's crazy when I'm getting advice from people. Oh, definitely. Hold on, man. I'm going to get into that. And it's crazy when I'm getting advice and from people inside the movement, and my own lawyer isn't even doing these types of things for me, right? So it just shows you that we don't always need somebody with a degree. All we need is somebody who cares. Who cares about accountability? Who cares about justice? Transparency, because we don't get none of that right now. None of that. None of that. And she's not the only one. Miss Felason, rest in peace. She needs justice. She needs accountability. You know, I was just before I hopped on. I was on police shootings and for the year. And you know, some states had, Minnesota had 8, California 31, Michigan, Ohio, California, New York were some of the highest. And I'm sitting there looking like, God damn. Like, when are we going to stop saying names? And then what's crazy is that 98.1% since 2017, I'm going to say that again, 98.1% have not been charged, have not even been, we'll say that, charged, right? 98.1%. So you mean to tell me that 1.9 were only weren't justified? When so many people are without weapons, they're getting shot in the back. You know what I'm saying? Like that's crazy to me. That's crazy to me. That's crazy. Because I want 2024, because I guarantee this, right? If people go educate, we can expose that way. That's the easy way. You know what I'm saying? I'll tell you right now, because when we know better, we do better. And I need everybody to start knowing better so we can start doing better. It's not about hating on somebody. I could care less about, but see, that's the thing of it is, because we got to stop. You know, one thing that I learned growing up is don't hate the player, hate the game, right? Well, when we look at this, it's the system. So let's start holding our elected officials accountable for the actions that they're doing, because you're going to see a lot of bullshit going into 2024. You're going to see a lot. Are we going to survive it? And how are we going to survive it is the question. How are we going to survive it? Man, it's that qualified immunity I feared for my life. It's so easy to say that they feared for their life. Right. It is true. It is true because at the end of the day, if we literally go at the game, which is the system, that's why I say, and I'm, sitting there looking back at everything, especially when it comes to especially when it comes to the Willie Lynch letter, it comes to the makings of a Negro Christian. It's all about the long game, right? This isn't something that's going to be overnight because this is something that has been in play for years. We're not going to just overturn this shit that quick because it's been indoctrinated in people. It's been programmed. It's been programmed. It's literally programmed into people. So the only way that we can do that is to deprogram people. And the only way that we do that is by educating. Because I can tell you right now, there is a lot of undereducated people in our community. And the data and statistics show it. The data and statistics show that we are getting dumber as a community, as a society, and people don't even care. They don't even care. But yet teachers will strike and talk about they need more money. What is that money getting us? It's the same thing with these police departments. What is that more money going to get us? What do we get in return for you getting more money? Anybody ever asked that? Because shouldn't we get something in return? These $1 million budgets, when you're like Minneapolis, they're budgeted for, I think it's 876 officers, right? But they only have 500. So where is all that extra money going? Because if it's literally budgeted for so many officers, right? But yet you're 300, almost 400 officers short of that, where the hell is that money going? People need to think about that. Where is that money going? And yet they ask for raises. They ask for more money from city budgets. But yet nobody asks where that other money went. Over time, yeah, to a degree, I would say to a degree, not fully for raises, but damn, come on, every police department in America is understaffed. I just seen something from the hell's that dude name? Mike Johnson, and talking about how our military numbers are not where they need to be, and maybe they need to think about a draft. They want to think about a draft. So what does that mean? A draft. So does that mean they're going to sit there and start drafting our young men to go fight a war that we have no place to be in and that they're provoking? We got a war going on over here that they don't even want to fight. We got a war on homelessness, on poor education. You don't need guns for that. You don't need bombs. You don't need planes. What you need is compassion. Yeah, I did see that. They're talking about girls too. When you see that USA is literally gonna, never mind, I'm not gonna go there. I'm not gonna go there. But I'm gonna tell you right now, it is gonna be equal opportunity, because I'll tell you right now, the government ain't gonna care if you're transgender then. I guarantee you that. They don't care if you're transgender then. As long as you can pick up that gun and go over there and fight for Uncle Sam, you'll be all right. That's what I'm saying. And that's where, even with the gender affirming care, it comes in. We literally want kids to be adults so bad that our legislators are writing laws, because at the end of the day, you can literally in Minnesota, and I know people are going to be like, man, I don't even know why you're talking about that. But literally in Minnesota, you can literally, a teenager, a 10-year-old, go get your pee-pee cut off without your parents' permission. But that same 10-year-old needs his parents' permission to go on a field trip. Make it make sense. Make it make sense. Right. And I know you meant trans on here, John Tell, but you dead ass telling the truth, because they don't care. They're gonna let them go over there and be like, you know what? Shit, fuck them. They're gonna die anyways. Oh yeah, I've seen that. And Robert, this dude right here, if people do not know who Robert Johnson is, please look him up on TikTok. He's on Facebook. Very intelligent individual, knows about rights, knows about our Constitution. And I know he doesn't always have time on his hands, but he's been a very big asset for me in my research. Very, man, I've learned a lot. And what's the crazy thing is, I have not learned this from my community leaders. It's been all people that, and really at the end of the day, I'm going to use this last little 5 minutes because I do want to thank some people, because without them taking me under my wing, them under my whatever, y'all know what I mean, and giving me the knowledge and the motivation to be able to fight fire with fire, and I want to give it up first. I want to talk about Kent Logan from Red Wing, Minnesota. This was a man that told me, Chaz, if you want to make change, you got to meet that change where you need to meet it at. And that's inside them city halls. It's about understanding city charters. It's about understanding state constitutions. It's about understanding our U.S. Constitution, because that's the roadmap. You can't change shit in your community if you don't have a GPS, if you don't know how to get to the destination. And that city charter and our Constitution is that map, because it shows us and it tells us how to get to the destination of change and reform. But instead, we want to listen to the paid spokespeople instead of picking up books and educating ourselves. And that's why Kent Logan, Robert Johnson, Patricia, I know I'm going to say her last name wrong. These are all people that educate and want people to educate, because at the end of the day, there's so much things that we don't look at and we think that they're great, right? We think that they're great. Just like when Minnesota Minneapolis swears they banned no-knock warrants. Well, they did it, but with exceptions. That's not a prohibiting. That's not a ban, because all you did is just gave them a loophole to still be able to do the things that they want to do. Just like with, we'll talk about Derek Chauvin. They allowed Derek Chauvin to do the things that he was doing. They allowed him, right? And what did they do? They lied. They cheated to get to justice, because the system couldn't blame the system. The system had to blame somebody. The system had to blame somebody. So who took the blame? And I'm not going to say any of them cops need to be free, because at the end of the day, they weren't out here caring about Marvin Haynes. They weren't out here caring about Myon Burrell when they literally lied, did unethical, inhumane tactics to get justice, right? Because that's all the system did what it was designed to do, protect itself. And people don't understand that. But maybe, hopefully, one day people will. Because for me, the fall of Minneapolis, oh, damn. So there is an active shooter in. Damn. Active shooter in Las Vegas. Pray all right if you're out in Vegas, because I know I have seen some people out there on my Snap. I hope you guys are all right. You know, this city that never sleeps. I was on a live on TikTok. These motherfuckers out dancing at 4 o'clock in the morning. Oh, I directly believe the places to watch tonight will be California, New York, Seattle, Washington, let me think, Atlanta, Philadelphia. Those will really be the place. Boston. I think people should really, if you live in a bigger city, I think maybe people should stay in tonight. It is probably going to get a little wild. Yeah, Boston too. Yep. They've been in the news a lot recently. So just want people to think about that and reflect. Let's go into this new year. Oh yeah, no, I know. That's why I love you, Robert. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm ready. I might not be financially, though I know I'm not financially ready, but I know I'm mentally. There was tons of it. I know that I'm mentally, I know that I'm physically and educationally prepared for what's about to come, because I honestly do not believe we're going to have a 2024 election. I think some bullshit's going to happen, and definitely it's going to be a lot of bullshit, but together we can, and the only way that we do that is to educate. And I'm not going to stop wanting to educate people, because I feel like that's how we get to a better tomorrow, is educate. And we can do it ourselves. You don't need a college degree. You don't need a certificate or somebody to tell you your where you rank in life, or if you're qualified, because we're all qualified. We all have life experience. So people need to get involved. And with that being said, man, let's go into this 2024. Let's go in refreshed. Let's go in positive. Let's go in talking about unity. And let's draw these lines, and let's make sure that the line is drawn between good and evil, between right and wrong, so that there isn't a thin line anymore, so that people can misconstrue, demonize, and make it just go to the masses so that they look like asses, right? Because that's how we're not going to get changed that way. We have to make a line in the sand. We gotta, and make sure that it's not a thin line, because right now that's what we see. There's a thin line between right and wrong. And we got to make sure that that line is not thin. We have to stand on it. So, win or fail, freedom or jail, heaven or hell, wish me well. Y'all have a great rest of your 2023, and I'll see y'all in 2024.
Every day, fighting for my life. Every day, fighting for my life. Fighting for my life. Fighting for my bread. Grew from the seed you thought was rot. I think not. Fire bred desire to rise above denial. To rise from former ashes to face new trial. Trial or more triumph. I am enough. Trial to triumph. I am enough. Every day I fight for my life.